Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be replacing the battery on our Gravely zero-turn mower. Now this is the same process no matter what kind of tractor you have. A little one, a big one, zero-turn, a normal steering type tractor. The process is going to be pretty much the same, and I think the batteries are pretty much the same across all of these as well. So in this one, we lift the seat up. Underneath there is where we have a lot of the stuff for doing maintenance. You've got the fluid for the zero turn right here. There's your oil for the engine. You've got your pump for all of the hydraulics, and there's your battery. As you can see, this one's seen better days. I wiped off some of the battery acid that was all over the terminals. It was all clumped up from this side all the way to this side. It wasn't even turn the motor over, so this thing's dead. For this one here, we're going to be using a battery from Weize. If you haven't heard from them, they have really good batteries, both for lawn and garden and automotive and marine. For this one, it's going to be the Lawn and Garden AGM battery that we're going to use. We're not using a standard lead acid. We're going to use an AGM, and these are fantastic. They last a long time. They can discharge quite a bit more than a typical lead acid battery and still hold their charge well once you start and charge them back up. And then they also charge a lot faster, so it's a lot less strain on your alternator and the electronics and things. So it'll take a charge much quicker and get back up to optimal voltage. This is the size we're using here. It's a U1 350 cold cranking amps, and that's the size you're going to use for pretty much most of these tractors, these home and even the commercial ones. That's the size that you'll typically see in a lot of these. Now Weize sells these online. I'll put the link down to their website in the description below. They've got fantastic price on them. For the quality you get, you can't really come close with anything else. There's lots of other brands and stuff out there. I've had fantastic luck with these in my vehicles and in lawn equipment over the years. They're awesome. I highly recommend them. You can use another brand if you'd like, but I really recommend these Weize ones. They have good service, really good quality batteries, and they ship them really packaged well. You can get the package, open it up, and you'll see all the styrofoam around it. They're packaged really well and always arrive in good shape, which I can't say the same for a lot of other vendors. All right, you got these nifty carrying handles, obviously to lift it up, and then they sit down next to it so that your battery tie-down bracket goes in real easily as well. Some of the other batteries, the carry handles are kind of in the way, or you have to take them off before you put your mounting bracket on. These tuck nice and neatly around the edge, so it's really clean installation and you don't have to remove them. All right, let's get back over to the lawnmower. So first thing we want to do is remove this battery tie-down bar at the top. You've got on this lawnmower a wing nut on each side. On your lawnmower, your tractor, it might be a little bit different, so I'm going to take these off. Put those wing nuts away. Now that they're both off, you want to take and wiggle this guy around a little bit. There we go. That side's off, and this side's seized up a little bit, so I'm going to wiggle it around a little. That one's frozen on there pretty good, so I'm just gonna put it over here at the side. Now you need to get the nut off. This one's right here, and this one's on the back side too, so we're gonna use an open-ended wrench. Oh, that one's really bad. We're gonna use an open-ended wrench, get those two nuts off, get the battery cables off, and then we should be able to lift this battery out of here and clean up underneath. All right, I've got all of those nuts and bolts off. I'm gonna take the battery cables and kind of put them, oh, that one already fell down to the side. I'm gonna push this tie down bar over to the side, make sure this one's out of the way, and this old battery does not have lifting handles. It's probably one of the ones that you had to remove the handles from in order to mount it. I hate these because they're always a pain in the ass to get out if you're in a tight spot. This one luckily has lots of room on either side. So I'm gonna lift this out of here and then we're gonna clean up. All right, we got this thing out. Look at that. It's a Duralast, more like a Dura-Not-Last. I hate these Duralast batteries, the lawn and tractor ones. I've had the worst luck with them. This one lasted, I think, 2 years, which I guess it sounds like a lot, but these other ones, these guys, I usually get 4 or 5 years at least out of them. So this one is going to go to the local auto parts store so they can recycle it. And before we get this guy in, I'm gonna clean all this up. You don't wanna leave all the remnants of all that dried up battery acid everywhere. You wanna get as much of it as you can out because otherwise it's just gonna eat away at all that metal. So what I'm gonna do is vacuum all that stuff up with my shop vac, and then can see it's open underneath it. Then I'm gonna rinse all of this out with fresh water from the water hose real good, let it dry, and then we'll put the new battery in. Got it all rinsed out. We're gonna let it dry up a little bit. While I was doing that, I also rinsed off around this cap for the fluid reservoir for the hydraulic system that controls the zero turn transmission. I want to check the fluid as well, and if you've never done it before, this screws into a hole. So if you remove this, you basically got a hole there with no neck. So the mistake a lot of beginners make is they'll pull this off and they'll let a bunch of dirt straight into the hole. Let me show you while we're waiting for this stuff to dry. So I went ahead and rinsed it out so that we can check the fluid. And if it's short on fluid, we can top it off. Right there, you see what I mean? So if you have a bunch of dirt stacked up around that, what'll happen is as soon as you take this off, all that dirt will go straight in there. And then you gotta take all this off and drain it and clean it. We're good on fluid, it's full. So I'm gonna go ahead and screw this back on. And in a few minutes, we'll install this battery. I'll show you how it's all buttoned up. And we should be back to fully operational. Now that it's all clean, I wiped it down with a paper towel. You can see a little bit of bubbling of the paint. That's from the battery acid. So if you want, you could sand this down a little bit. Oh, look right there. You can see metal underneath it. Luckily, the battery acid didn't really damage the metal, but if you wanted to, you could sand that down a little bit and spray paint over it with a little primer and paint. That way it protects it real well. For now, I gotta mow the lawn, so I'm gonna go ahead and put the battery in here, but this might be a project for me for next weekend to pull the battery back out and scrape some of the loose paint off and sand the other edges, feather the edges a little bit, and then spray some primer and paint on there to keep it nice and protected for several more years. Now let's get the battery in. Make sure you put it back in the direction that the old one was. God, I love the handles on these Weize batteries. I'm gonna leave the little terminal covers on there until I'm ready to put the battery terminal, the battery cables on. So on mine, positive was on that side, negative was on this side. So I'm gonna flip this guy around. On this lawnmower, my positive was on that side where the cable was, and my negative was on this side. If you have really long cables and you can switch it around, you can. I'm gonna leave it the same as it was configured before. And with the terminals on this battery, they should line up just perfectly. All right, so I'm gonna put the handles down like so. And we're gonna try to line this up. I'm pushing it that direction as much as I can. It's gonna sit against the brake bar right there. That's the bar that the, I think the brake handle's attached to, isn't it? Yeah, you see that right there. Yep. So I'm gonna push it all the way against that bar. This side of the brake hold down is here. The other side fell through the hole right there. If you see it, that hole right there. So I'm gonna put it up through that hole and then put the bracket over the top. I did also take the bracket and wire brushed it best I could. You can see how much the battery acid was eating into it. It's crazy what that stuff does. Look at that. That's just nuts. So it's still in usable condition. I might look online to see if I can find a replacement. I bet this is a $5 or $10 part. But if yours is in really bad shape, you might want to replace it. In this case, we're going to go ahead and reuse this. That's nice and firm on there. Make sure your battery doesn't move around. Now we want to get the battery cables onto the terminals. The Weize comes with brand new hardware, new nuts and bolts. So we're going to use these. Let's pull the caps off of the battery terminals. All right. I like the positioning on these better than the Duralast. The Duralast put the terminals way too close to the actual tie-down bar because they were more towards the middle. So let's get the battery cables aligned there. Let's see. Here's our negative. We're gonna put it on the inside there, like that, and then put the bolt through, and let's see, bolt through this way, the nut on this side, And grab our positive terminal. Might brush this one a little bit. And again, we'll put that on this side, bolt through, nut on the outside. Let me get those on real quick. Now those are both back on. Make sure you snug them. Now, last thing we want to do is take the boot for the positive terminal and put it over that just for some protection. And sometimes tough to get that perfect. Oh, shit. Well, that just came off. Well, now I need a new end. Okay, well, I'm gonna do that. All right, I got it. New head on there. Nice hydraulically crimped connection. Look at that, beautiful. I use my handy dandy hydraulic crimper whenever I make custom cables or anything for any of our boats or old cars I'm restoring. This thing's always an amazing tool to have. I'll put the link down in the description too if you guys need one for any reason. This thing's been a lifesaver for me. I've used it so many times, especially on old restorations and things I do. All right, now we're done. I'm gonna button this thing back together and go mow the lawn. Love y'all. See you next time.